Today on Watch with Poppy, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Deception. So let's get right to it, you guys. I thought this week was, had some good points, and there was also some points that were kind of just annoying. The sad news about Deception is that there are only 3 more episodes left this season. And of course, the way that things are looking, like in terms of ratings and other things like that, it's more than likely, Deception's not coming back, which is kind of a bummer. So only 3 more episodes left, so let's hope big things happen in the next 3 weeks, basically. So this episode starts with my favorite character, Edward, pretty much kind of deciding he doesn't have any other choice but to kind of out Bowers Pharmaceutical. So the next thing you know, Edward's having a press conference and he's telling the world about Lyritrol and about the trials, and that people died, and that his father tried to cover it up, and this is like, a pretty big bombshell. Now, obviously, the reaction is kind of crazy. I mean, the family is just, like, in shock, like, you see Julian's face as he's watching the television, and he is just like, he can't believe that Edward has done this. The shareholders, of course, are in a panic, and all of the, board members pretty much tell Robert, look, you need to shut your son up. You need to get Julian on TV saying that his brother's a liar and everything's fine. But Julian is kind of, not ready to do that because all of a sudden he's like, is there something wrong with my drug? So he's more concerned about going back to look at all the information to make sure that Lyritrol is safe. He actually ends up getting the information from Edward, all the files that he has so that he can look at it. I have this theory about Lyritrol, you guys, that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. But let's keep pushing forward. So let's talk about Senator Haverstock. Mia shows up at his office, and they have this little moment that was really nice between the two of them, where it's like they go out for lunch, they grab some soup, and they're sitting out, and they're people watching. And Mia then is just kind of to the point, and tell me the truth, what do you really want? So Senator Haverstock tells her that he's dying, and that he needs a bone marrow transplant. He hasn't found any matches, but of course, because she's his daughter, she could be a match. So yeah, Mia, because she's underage, that would mean that Robert and Sophia have to sign off on that as well. So, what are the chances that's gonna happen? But you also get that Senator Haverstock, this has been his plan all along. There's this conversation they show between him and Kyle where he's telling Kyle, your job is to make sure that when she asks you what she should do, you tell her that she should do it. That's what you're here for. But you also kind of start to see that Kyle is not really into fooling her anymore. And, all along you get that his feelings for Mia have been genuine. But now his back's against the wall, so it's what's he really gonna do, I guess? We'll see. In the end, once Mia tells her parents what Senator Haverstock wants, you see this meeting between the senator and Robert, where Robert basically knows that he holds all the cards, and so he tells him, I want the golf club back. Yeah, we'll sign off on letting you test Mia to find out if she can be a donor for you, but only if you give us the golf club back. And so Senator Haverstock does, because what other choice does he really have? But the big question I'm gonna ask is, how do we know that this is the real golf club, people? How does anyone trust this man? The other thought I want to throw out there is, what happens if Mia goes to get tested for bone marrow and it turns out that Senator Haverstock is not her father? That could, that could really start things up. Okay, guys, let's talk about Joanna, right? Because most of the time I do like her character. It's not like I don't like her character. It's just her character as a police detective has never been very convincing to me. And she's if she's a police detective, she is the worst police detective ever. Or she just has the worst luck ever. So, Robert, calls her into the office and is like, I need you to go cash this check for $500,000. Get the cash and take it over to this, place, to these stock manipulators. They're basically gonna stop Bauer's stock from dropping because after the big, news conference, everyone's selling. So, of course, when she comes out of the bank with a briefcase with $500,000 in it, who should show up but one of the missing Russian mobsters, right? So he kidnaps her, puts her in the car, and she's begging for her life, and here, take the $500,000. He goes to open the briefcase, and she crashes the car, right? So then she gets out and she's running, and he's got a gun and he's shooting, and basically in the end he catches her, she ends up stabbing him, she ends up killing this guy. That's just how she survives in the end, but she's completely banged up and bruised. She loses the $500,000. And, you know, next shot you see of her is in the hospital. Will shows up and it's just like, oh my gosh. And he's all freaking out. He's really mad because he feels like Robert put Joanna in danger by like just sending her out with this $500,000 in a briefcase. And so he gets mad and it's just like, I'm gonna go talk to him. And this part drove me crazy, you guys. Again, with the worst like police / FBI work ever. Like, he gets so mad that he actually leaves the hospital, like, barges into the Bowers home, and, like, loses it, you know, at Robert Bowers. But it's like, what's he really gonna say? I mean, he can't yell at him and be like, you hurt Joanna, because he's not supposed to know Joanna. So it was just weird and stupid, and it didn't make any sense. It just drove me insane that he did that. So he's in there yelling, Sophia walks in, recognizes him, right? Because remember a couple of episodes ago when Joanna was doing some more bad police work, and she was sneaking up the stairs trying to find out where, you know, Sophia had dropped that money off to. Will was trying to distract Sophia to stop her from going back in the house, and so he was trying to hit on her. And so when she sees him, she does recognize him, and it's just a weird situation and stupid and unprofessional if you're an FBI agent, and you really think that Robert Bowers did it. Why would you choose this moment to barge in? I mean, it just was dumb. And really, Robert is everyone's #1 suspect right now, which of course probably means he didn't do it, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully we'll see in the next 3 episodes. So Robert, though, is not having it, and he yells at him to get out, and he even threatens his mom. So you get that Robert has done his research and he knows who Will is, and it just makes you wonder, what else does Robert know? Okay, before we get into the J&J stuff, let me tell you what my big theory is, right? So Audrey was in this episode, and she was acting really, really weird, you guys. You know, like when she was with Julian, when he saw the press conference, and then just throughout the episode, she's just got this really weird vibe to her, like she's guilty of something, right? So this is my theory, and I've been working on this for a couple of weeks. My theory is that there is nothing wrong with Lyritrol. You know, what if Lyritrol is a perfectly good cancer drug, but Audrey is the one who planted that seed by using Ben? Like, there's this flashback of her and Ben in a club, and they're talking, and she's asking him about, you know, him dating Vivian, and telling him, like, you know, get ready to just be arm candy or something like that. And then she says something to him like, how would you really like to, like, get on her radar? Like she's offering him an opportunity. So it just makes you wonder, you know, because Ben is really the one who brought that accusation to Vivian and said, look, this is what happened. Here's the real info. And then Vivian took it to Edward, and then Vivian got killed, and then it, you know, exploded. So my thought is, what if Audrey is the one who planted that? She gives Ben this fake information about people dying at Lyritrol trials when really they didn't, and plants that seed, and then all of a sudden, look what's happened now. You know, now Edward has this information and all this stuff. And what if there's nothing wrong with Lyritrol, you guys? That would totally blow my mind. And in the end, that helps her because, I mean, right now, you know, no one's going to want to take that drug, and everyone's going to want to take the competitor's drug, the one who Audrey is working for. So I feel like, yeah, what if there's nothing wrong with Lyritrol? I mean, that's going to be a bombshell, and part of me really thinks that's where things are going. So can I just say on a side note too, the actress who plays Audrey, I don't know who she is, but wow, I just felt like for some reason this week there was some bad acting going on. I mean, there was some stuff happening with her, like guilt. And the one scene where she had the pen and she was like clicking the pen, like, look, I'm nervous, I'm clicking the pen. It was just like, it was kind of manic and kind of weird and kind of just not good. Okay, so it's time to talk J&J, Julian and Joanna. So there was a couple of really kind of cool scenes this week, especially in the aftermath of last week when Joanna's all like lying and telling him, no, I don't have the same feelings for you. Whatever, Joanna. One really cool scene between the two of them was in the office after the press conference, and everybody at Bowers Pharmaceutical is trying to recover. And Joanna in here walking down the hall, and he stops and he looks at her, and it's like he really needs her to understand that he didn't have anything to do with covering up anything about bad Lyritrol. And, you know, it was a really cool scene because you got that he really wanted her to know that. And he really wanted to know that she believed him. And she said that she did. So that was a cool little scene, I thought. Now, the other thing I'll mention, too, is that after the whole, like, press conference, everybody at Bowers Pharmaceutical is now required to take a lie detector test, right? And so Joanna knows she's gonna have to figure out how to pass that. But I also thought it was kind of cool that Julian tells her, like, if you've got something to hide, you know, make sure you take a sedative before you go take your lie detector test. So I thought it was kind of cute that he did that. There was also a flashback that I thought was interesting. And you got, you know, the teenage Joanna and Julian, and you get them talking, and you get that they're together but that they're hiding. But I thought it was interesting that they show you that he didn't want to. She was the one who was just like, my mother's gonna freak out if she finds out about us. And he was just kind of like, look, let's just tell everyone. You know, like, we're together, let's just tell them. And she was the one who was kind of like, I'm not sure. Like, let's wait. So it was kind of a little telling scene, I think, between the two of them. Let's talk about the lie detector test, because obviously at the end of the episode, what we learn is that Joanna takes a sedative to take the lie detector test, but she doesn't pass. Like, so at the very end of the episode, we see Robert Bowers, you know, kind of realizing that she failed the lie detector test. Then she calls him from the hospital to tell him, look, I was in a car accident. And not just that, I lost your $500,000. And he's just like, don't worry. You know, it's just money. Money can be replaced. Why don't you just come home? Like, I'd like for you to come back to the house. And he really wants her to come back, you get, so that he can keep an eye on her because he no longer trusts her. One other thing, too, about Robert and Sophia, when Will comes over and is doing his whole crazy thing, there's a moment, too, when he throws out Wyatt's name. And Sophia tries to brush it off and pretend like she doesn't know who Wyatt is. But later, when she and Robert are alone, Robert kind of presses her and is like, who is Wyatt? Tell me the truth. I need to know that you're on my side. And Sophia lies. But I guess we'll have to see, you know, if Robert already knows who Wyatt is, because I would never doubt, you know, that he knows everything about Sophia's past, and no matter what she thinks she's trying to hide, you know, he already knows it. Now, in the end, the J&J slumber party is over because, you know, really Robert has become the FBI's #1 suspect. So the fact that he's invited Joanna to come back into the house, you know, they really want her to do that. And so you see Julian drop her off. You know, he goes to pick her up at the hospital, which was really cool. And then he takes her back to the house. And it was really kind of creepy. The very last scene, you see her walking up to the door, and then Robert opens the door and is like, come in out of the cold. But it was just like, I don't know, like, when the door closed, you're just thinking, like, House of Horrors. I mean, it was just kind of, like, creepy, because you're thinking, I think she's gotten herself into something that she doesn't realize. Okay, guys, so let's talk about this episode as a whole. I don't know. I feel like we took a step back in this episode for me. There was some parts that I did enjoy, but there were so many parts that annoyed me. I was so annoyed by Will in this episode and his stupid, like, I'm gonna go give Robert Bowers a piece of my mind thing. It just drove me crazy. Here's hoping that the last 3 episodes of Deception are better than this one, because... come on, Deception, come on. Please end well. Finish well. That's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.